In this episode, we're again looking at some of the stories and images sent in by our viewers. As we said in a previous viewer submission video, we get sent a lot of these, and we'd like to thank you all for sending in your experiences. We really enjoy reading them, and if yours isn't featured, then we apologise, and hopefully we'll use it next time. If you'd like to send in your own image, video or story, please send it to mystory@top5s.co.uk. Now if you haven't already done so, hit those lights, sit back, and enjoy. This first photograph was sent in to us by Kenneth. It was captured on his pastor's trail cam that was set up on his property. When he got a movement notification, he was hoping it was a deer, as they were in abundance in the area. However, when he looked at the image captured, he was shocked to see a creepy face peering through the trees. Take a look. The pastor went to the location where the trail camera was, but couldn't see the creepy figure, and there were no visible footprints. What is strange is that since the image was captured, the deer that used to regularly roam the area have stayed away. The face creeped out the pastor so much that he now refuses to hunt in that location, and told his children never to go near the site. As a side note, there is an old cemetery on the property, so could the mystery figure lurking in the trees be one of those restless souls? We'd love to hear your thoughts on this one in the comments below. The Ghosts of Queener Road. This story was sent to us by Brian. It is a true story that he calls the Ghost of Queener Road. The incident took place in the summer of 2006. Brian and his wife Mary, who was his girlfriend at the time, had just moved from Brian's hometown located in eastern Oregon to Mary's hometown located on the western side of the state. It is a rural area surrounded by farms and fields. At the time, the couple were living with Mary's mother whilst they saved up to buy their own place. To get out of the house and spend some time together, Brian and Mary would frequently go for a drive, usually around the back roads. One night they decided to go on one of their little drives to do a bit of stargazing. Mary, who knew the area well, directed Brian to a place where the view would be good. The moon was bright that night, and lit the road ahead as they travelled down a narrow paved road. After about 10 minutes, they ended up down a gravel track that placed them between two large flat fields. They both got out of the car and sat on the hood, with their backs against the windshield, staring up at the night sky. After just a few minutes, Mary sat up abruptly and said she could hear rustling. They both looked around expecting to see some sort of wildlife, but could see nothing, so settled back down staring at the sky. However, moments later they were disturbed again by a sound coming from behind them. This time the sound was unmistakable. It was the crunch of human footsteps in the gravel that seemed to be heading towards them, getting louder and louder as they approached. The terrified pair peeked over the top of the car roof as the footsteps got closer, but they couldn't see anything. It was a bright night and the moon lit the entire gravel track, but they could not see anything physical, just the footsteps that were now close. There was nothing there. The footsteps didn't seem to belong to anything, at least not anything they could see. The couple didn't hang around and quickly got in the car and drove off as fast as they could. They were both so spooked that they barely said a word all the way home. Brian and his wife tried to come up with a plausible explanation for what had happened, but there was none. And to this day, they have no idea who those footsteps belong to, and the terror of what they experienced that night. A Ouija Board. Monica sent us her terrifying experience whilst playing with an Ouija board. When Monica was young, she went to her friend's house, who we'll call S, for a sleepover. There were several other girls there as well, and they all decided to play an Ouija board in the basement. They drew a chalk safe circle on the concrete at the base of the stairs. This was for anyone that was afraid. Once the session began, a friend who we'll call Jay got scared and stepped into the circle, and about 10 minutes later, Monica joined her, as nothing much was happening with the board. From the circle, Mona could see S's little brother peeking through the basement door. Slightly annoyed, he had been excluded from his older sister's game. The session eventually ended, as it was getting boring. But as the girls left, one of the older girls leading the seance realized she had forgot to close the session out properly and went back to the board. At that moment, S's brother suddenly fell down the entire flight of stairs. He smacked his face on the concrete, lost a tooth, and there was blood everywhere. Blood was around the safe circle Monica and Jay were in, but it hadn't gone in it. The boy's parents came flying down in a panic and asked their son what happened. To everyone's horror, he said that someone had pushed him. He was rushed to the ER and everyone went home. Monica was the last to leave and had spent time in S's bedroom trying to calm her friends down. She was doing a good job until suddenly a box of heavy marbles fell off the closet shelf, absolutely terrifying everyone again. The moral of the story is that treat the Ouija boards with respect, because you never know what you're going to awaken. Billiard Balls. This story was sent in by a viewer who wishes to remain anonymous, so we'll call her A. The incident took place over 20 years ago. It was summertime, and A was visiting her dad. He worked during the day, so she was home alone quite a lot. Although the next door neighbour had 2 kids around the same age as A, and they would sometimes come around to hang out. One day, only one of the kids came around. We'll call him M. A little backstory about M. He and his family used to live in the house A's dad now lived in, and apparently they believed it was haunted. M told A of some of the things that happened when he lived there, such as doors slamming or rattling after they'd been shut tight, and seeing shadows or movement when there was no one there. In the backyard, there were a few bits of broken stone with numbers etched on them that apparently were gravestones, and the house next door still had gravestones standing from the 1800s. However, the strange thing is, there was no official record of the area ever being a cemetery. The day in question was very hot, so A and M stayed indoors. The basement was a recreational area with a large billiard table in the centre, so they decided to play with the billiard balls to see how many they could roll into the pockets. They didn't trust using the cues, in case they accidentally scratched the table. A had stripes and M had spots. At the time, A was using the 13 ball, as it is her lucky number. As they were playing, M noticed a small cart in the corner of the room had shifted. Initially they shrugged it off and thought it was a trick of the eye, then it suddenly spun around and fell over. They were both freaked out and bolted up the steps. In their haste, they forgot to switch off the basement light, and because the light switch was at the bottom of the stairs, the pair had a little argument about who was going to turn it off. In the end, A told M to wait at the top of the stairs, and she would go and turn it off. This is when things got weird. When A went back into the basement, she noticed that only 3 balls were left on the billiard table, all in the centre in a straight line. The balls were numbered 7, 10 and 13. When the pair had bolted, there was practically a full table of balls. A also heard footsteps right behind the table, but there was no one there. She ran as fast as she could out to the basement and bolted the door shut. Then as she turned around, the phone rang. It was her father in a state of shock. He said he had just almost been killed by a forklift truck when its brakes malfunctioned and headed straight for him. However, at the last minute, an unseen force shoved him out of the way. His colleagues who had witnessed the near miss also saw the invisible force push him across the floor, saving his life. Because he was so upset, A didn't mention the basement incident until he got home. He then went down in the basement to check there wasn't an intruder. However, he found the light off, the balls put away, and the cover on the billiard table. The only sign A and M had been down there was that the tool cart was still lying on the floor. The day this happened and the day A's father was saved was July 10th, and he believes, in the basement that day, someone was trying to warn A, and that the lucky number 13 ball saved his life. A points out that the whole incident was true, and if she hadn't lived it, she wouldn't have believed it. The question is, do you believe it?
Time slip.
This next story was sent to us by Aidan, who lives in the northwest of Merseyside, England, in a town called Runcorn. Aidan wanted to share his experience with us to see if anyone else has had something similar happen. On the 17th of December 2022, something happened to Aidan that perplexes him to this day. It was a cold wintry evening, and Aidan settled down to read a book called The Hand of God, written by Christopher Charles, about the life of Vincent Fuller, a self-proclaimed psychic surgeon who allegedly uses physical and trance medium to spiritually heal people. In between reading the book, Aidan was installing GTA 5 on his Xbox 360. At one point he checked the time on the Xbox dashboard. It said 11:54 PM. He momentarily looked away for no more than 30 seconds, but when he looked at the time again, it read 0:00 AM. In the blink of an eye he had lost 6 minutes. Aidan believes he experienced a time slip and is still quite disturbed by what he believes is his first paranormal experience. We'd love to know in the comments if any of you have ever experienced a time slip, either backwards or forwards. As a bonus, Aidan sent us a photograph of what he believes is a ghost child. The photo is of the Grapes Inn, an old pub in Runcorn that is now called the Northern Bar. We're unsure when the photograph was taken, but from the research we have done, it seems like it was some time ago. Allegedly the building is haunted by a little girl. Take a look at the image and focus on the window on the top left hand side. Is that the child who reportedly haunts the old pub? Unfortunately, we could find little historical information about the building, apart from how the place used to look compared to how it looks today. We'd love to know the history of the place, and whether it is indeed haunted. So that's it for this creepy video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow for another scary one.